All right, welcome back and thank you for keeping it daybreak. If you're just joining us, good morning. Karibu sana. As we begin health and lifestyle today, we want to talk about mobility assistive technology. We all know that at some point in life, we've seen our loved ones, or even some of you who are watching this morning, being in a position where you need certain devices to support your functioning of. It could be any part of your bodies, and in instances that things have not gone so well, some have had maybe their foot amputated, their hands, and you've had to, get some of these devices to support you. Others have not been able to get it because of maybe the cost implication or the lack of information. And those are the things we want to break down on the show this morning. I'm hosting an orthopedic technologist. His name is Kenneth Kipyegon-Meli. Karibu sana. We are happy to have you today.
Thank you, Safin, and I would really appreciate this opportunity by the Real Media and Citizen TV to really help us scale down this idea about mobility assistive technology. As hello viewers, as you've just heard, my name is Kenneth Kipyegon-Meli, an orthopedic technologist, a medical rehabilitation expert, and the National Chair, Association of Orthopedic Technologists, Prosthetists and Orthotists in the Republic, and also a sitting member of the Technical Working Group, Rehabilitative Services, Ministry of Health.
It's good to have you because I have a lot of questions, especially when it comes to the cost implication of some of these devices and what is being done to help Kenyans who need them but cannot be able to access them. But let's begin by just explaining the spectrum of the orthopedic practice. I understand it's categorized in different ways, and where you fall is now the technical side of it. But tell us more about these categories and why what you do differs with what maybe the surgeons do when it comes to orthopedic practice.
Thank you. Orthopedic practice, or orthopedic medicine, is a branch of medicine. But again, when you come down to the real orthopedic practice, we have the clinical orthopedics, which deals with identification and diagnosis and all the others. Then you come to surgical orthopedics, that is now the surgical correction of orthopedic conditions and deformities and probably injuries arising, deformities arising from injuries. And lastly is the technical part of it, which is basically rehabilitative orthopedics. And when you talk of rehabilitation, medical rehabilitation, which is now rehabilitative orthopedics, where I fall in, again, we have several other cadres enshrined there. We have occupational therapy, we have physiotherapy, we have orthopedic technology, we have audiology. There are now basically almost 6 disciplines under rehabilitative medicine. But when we again come down to orthopedic technology, prosthetics and orthotics, that is now where the rubber meets the road for my profession, where we deal with rehabilitation of orthopedic conditions arising from injury. Either people are born with those conditions, they were injured through RTS and the others. There are also non-communicable diseases like diabetes, the cancers and all the others. And many other conditions we now come in to support, we correct, or we substitute by providing the lost body parts by way of providing prosthesis.
All right. And that's where I want us to go. The categories of the mobility assistive technology, the difference between the orthoses and the prosthetics.
Yes.
Yeah? Just so that we can understand, there are times you have the whole body part amputated. There are times it just needs some form of support.
Yes.
Yeah, so run us through, those different variations.
Okay, just as I said, we have the supportive part, we have the corrective part, and we have the substitutive part. So supportive part is basically when you get an injury and you cannot stand for a couple of days. That doesn't mean that you have to lie on bed for 2 weeks, 3 weeks before you get healed. You at least have to have some support for you to be able to move from point A to point B by way of fulfilling your activities of daily living. Now, when it comes to correction, is after the injury, you are down and you are now up. There are deformities that arise from that injury, or maybe the child has been born with those deformities. How do we correct them back? We have those braces and those other assistive devices that will help with time to correct and bring this deformed body part to as near to normal as possible. Substitution comes in when this correction is not possible and this appendage or the body part that has been affected has to be cut off. And that is when now we can talk of how do we replace? Because otherwise somebody might live in permanently dependent on other people for activities of daily living.
But they don't have to. Right?
Exactly, they don't have to. Where the world is going and where we are as a country is that we also need to move with the world to ensure that our people's lives are dignified and they are given that independent way of doing things for them to really reduce dependency and actually participate in the overall community development. Basically, if all those cannot happen, up to replacement is when now again another mobility assistive device like wheelchair, something that you now must permanently be on it for it to facilitate you to continue doing these activities of daily living. Again, there are several other categories and many others up to the point of robotics. Right now,
that's where we are. We are there or we are going there?
We are there already.
Okay.
Personally, maybe I failed to say that I'm also a qualified prosthetist. And basically we've done more of assistive, artificial intelligence. And soon, or we pray that in the next few years, our country will have moved to artificial intelligence in prosthetics and orthotics to the point of we even devising or I can say innovating or actually building up on what we already have in terms of robotics.
I like that. I mean, it's sort of futuristic, approach of looking at some of these interventions. But I wonder how that will play out, especially considering the fact that even the basic devices are still, far reach from the common mwananchi. And that's where I want us to go. You focus on what is called the basic level prosthetic technologies. I want to understand when you say basic, how basic is basic? And maybe you can run us through the different categories that are there.
Sure. That's a very good question, Safin, because, we are very futuristic, but again, we have to think of, have we really laid the foundation?
Yeah, right.
The global needs and WHO's vision is to ensure that at least by the year 2050, under the Social Development Goals, SDGs, we will have availed or accessed up to 10 million people with different assistive technology devices. Because globally, we have a very big number of people requiring this, up to 50 million.
50 million.
In Kenya, the numbers are 2.5 million people
who require
assistive technology devices. When we scale down, mobility assistive devices for those with physical impairments. When you talk of physical impairments, we are talking of losing of lower limbs, that is the leg, below the knee and above the knee. We have upper limb, that is below the elbow and above the elbow. We have the breasts, because of the breast cancer. We have also the nose, that's an appendage. We have the ears, this part of the outer piece of the ear. Any physical part that you lose has an answer to that. Walking around because you don't feel pain is not the problem. But now, even balance. When you talk of basic, for example, the upper limb or the hand, all the orthotics and prosthetics are categorized into 3 levels. The one you've talked about, basic, which should be our focus and discussion to make sure that we give to as many people as possible. Then we have intermediate and advanced. Let us forget about that first. That can be a discussion for another day. Now,
the intermediate.
Here at basic is that out of the 1 million people who need mobility assistive devices in Kenya, up to 50%, that is around 500,000, require fully dependence on mobility assistive devices.
Let me get some numbers clear. You said 2.5 million require what?
According to this...
So that the 1 million require mobility assistive?
According to the survey, to the census of 2019, 2.2 million people first have disabilities of a kind.
2.2.
That comes to almost 1 million. Out of that, 500,000, which is almost between 42 and 50%, let's put it at the higher side of 50%, require mobility assistive devices. That is 500,000. Out of the 500,000, 100,000 require wheelchairs. And even if we leave it there, out of these 100,000, it's only 5% who have actually some very good access to that mobility device. 95%
do not have access.
When we come down,
a huge gap.
it's a huge gap.
Yeah.
It's a huge gap.
Is too high, but access, it's like a drop.
It's a drop in the ocean. Yeah. And one disadvantage is that because wheelchairs are given out also in a manner that is not so well coordinated professionally, those who get this year are the same people who will get it next year. And they are the same fellows who will get it after 3 years because they are exposed. There are those people living in very rural areas who do not even know that these things exist. So that is what is reducing on access, proper and appropriate issues. Now, when we come down to where my real focus is, as I said, I'm a trained prosthetist, is prosthetics. Prosthetics, again, we have roughly, when you take, in 2018, I think Kisi did some small survey, and they had an average of 47 amputations in a year. The lowest county that time had 5. So if you do an average, you come to around 27. So we are having around 1,300 to 1,500 amputations, people losing limbs every year. And currently, we have up to almost 30,000 confirmed cases of amputations in the country. Out of this, only 12 to 15% can access these services. You know this, when you talk of losing a limb, the stigma that comes with it, and the loss of function.
Your whole life changes.
Yes.
Your functionality, even your identity to some
Your
extent.
identity.
Yeah.
Even
changes.
a very good small story is that a lady who just lost her breast.
Yeah.
And she could not walk. She could not be able even to face her own kids.
Yeah.
Say that when the kids come in and she has not stuffed something inside the bra to make it look like she has both breasts, was actually torturous. Yeah. So when you look at this...
But what drives the gap between the demand and the accessibility of these devices, from your observation? What are some...
My observation is that I thank God first that I come from a country, out of the all East African community countries, Kenya is the only country producing the highest number of orthopedic technologists, prosthetists, and orthotists. Kenya, again, is among the only 4 who are training. And Kenya is leading with the highest number. Actually, when I say highest number, you expect like 10, 20,000. We are only like 1,100 in the whole country, trained orthopedic technologists.
It's 1,000.
We have only 10 qualified prosthetists.
And that's high?
And around 4, 5, or 6 CPOs with certified prosthetists and orthotists. That is high.
That's considered high?
In East African community.
So they're worse off?
There are countries without that.
Okay.
Go to Somalia, not even single one employed by government. Go to South Sudan, there are only 2. You go to all other countries.
But how come we don't feel it, this status where we are, in terms of the access, in terms of even just helping the people with the impairments access these devices and be able to live their near normal life? How come it's not felt? It's
not felt because rehabilitation as a whole has been left at the backwater for very long. And I thank God that I'm here today. Probably this is just the beginning of the discussion that will not only help our country to really look for this challenge as something that needs to be tackled, but it will also spiral to other East African community countries, under the East African community brotherhood, or what we call sisterhood. So we do not feel it because it is a discussion, again, when you go to our small communities in the country, we treat disability and basically such losing of body parts culturally as things that arise from either curses or something. So we tend to hide. When you do a survey, you can even be told that we don't have any person living with disability or having this impairment or having this amputation in this area because they fear. The family even fears they'll be victimized and they'll be avoided by the other community members. So we still have a lot to do to really bring this discussion to light so that we get the exact numbers for planning, and also government steps up its responsibility of ensuring that under the Geneva Convention and all the other provisions internationally, we make sure that we provide these services as appropriate. All right, Kenneth, let me take you back to the basics. You're explaining to us what you're really big on basic technologies right now. Yes. That's your area of focus. I want to understand what's the big deal about it and how is it going to change the narrative for people with such impairments? Okay, when we talk of basic, as you had asked before, what is basic? How basic is basic? Basic means these are manually operated orthoses, prostheses, or mobility assistive devices. When we talk of this basic, these are those that can be produced with the little local available resources. When we talk of basic, is that these are the things that can actually be trained to even technicians and artisans to be able to repair at the community level. When again we talk of basic, we are talking about price. Price in the sense that even SHA right now does not really strongly cover assistive technology devices. And even if they do, they only do it for civil servants. So those who are at the low levels of the pyramid continue to suffer more, and that is where there is a lot of need. When we talk of basic, again, we are talking of, there are innovations all over. These innovations is what now need to be trained to our already existing officers in this field, so that they can be able to fabricate, they can be able to train people to use, they can be able to repair, and they can be able to also maintain. We also need to train the users, the people living with disabilities themselves, the people with impairments and all sorts of handicap, for them to also know how to operate, how to repair, and how to live with these devices.
So where are we in terms of making that beautiful dream a reality, in terms of the production of these devices locally? And you can run me through the basics of how the process looks like of putting up or fabricating probably a basic prosthetic, like maybe a limb, you know, so that we understand the complexity and where we are as a country in terms of capability to produce these devices locally before, you know, maybe importing the ones we can't.
Where we are locally, Safin, is one, thanks to World Health Organization. Actually, our training and all those processes who have graduated have been supported by WHO under a program known as AT-Scale. When WHO chose Kenya, and actually the country received them well, with an intention of building an assistive technology center of excellence. Many organizations from the South are now here with very many technologies, which are very basic and designed for low and middle income countries like ours. And as we are speaking today, we have several technologies. That is where we are. Like for the prosthesis, or the lower limb prosthetics, we have a technology called monolimb from the Swiss. This is a very basic and I think the cheapest technology that can cost as low as between 15 and 55,000. For those who cannot afford or cannot be covered by SHA, here they can get a relief. We have things like others like SACLEG, which is best known to my professionals. These are not brands, you know, these are just names named after whoever discovered it. So I'm not here to sell any brand.
Please don't.
Because I know it is not allowed. But you know, like when you talk about even the braces, you can talk of Steenbeek. You know, Steenbeek abduction brace is not a brand of selling, but it is named after whoever discovered. So it's just like saying in medicine, amoxil, you know, Panadol. Those are, when we prescribe a prosthesis, a below knee prosthesis, like I prescribe a monolimb prosthetic. Yes, like I'm giving you Panadol for your condition. And when the condition is, or your pocket can a little bit hold something higher, I can tell you now you can go to this brand, which is a little bit higher. So we are basically there. We have a lot of innovations in the country currently. And these innovations range now from between the one I've told you, 15,000 to around 55 for below knee prosthesis. Above knee prosthesis between 55,000 and 150, even to $1 million, depending on your capabilities.
That, in your judgment, is it affordable?
It is not.
It is not, right?
It is not.
So how come, I'll still go back to my question. How come we are not feeling the impact if we have more experts than our neighbors in East Africa, if we have the capability of fabricating and even taking advantage of these opportunities in innovation, and you're telling us the progress we have made in even having a center for assistive devices in this country. But how come we still have a very huge gap between the demand and the access? Are there challenges probably? There
are a lot of challenges. The challenges are there, and not only in our country. I can say our country is trying, yes, but you know, trying is not doing. So what I can basically say is that we are not feeling this because even those little technologies and the skilled manpower that we have, we still lack a lot in terms of resources, financial resources to set up prosthetic centers. This is a country that, as I've just mentioned, has a very huge need, but now we do not have the infrastructural existence of orthopedic workshops, prosthetic and orthopedic workshops to really do this. Again, when you go to either national up to the county level, there are not enough employed personnel. In as much as we have 1,000, we only have around 370 working in public facilities. Yeah? And slightly...
So the rest are in private practice.
Yes, the rest are in private practice. And again, we do not, when we go to the real issues of budgeting, even at counties, this is not seen as an emergency, you know. It is not an emergency, yes. And let me tell you, Safin, you might not feel the impact of having someone who has lost a limb or someone who cannot stand and walk until it hits in your family or just in the next neighborhood. Yeah.
I want us to talk about that more. It's not an emergency, but in your perspective, is it?
Yes.
Let's talk about the impact of, because you're talking about the challenges that are there in fabricating and even distributing some of these devices across the country, meaning that the gap that is there, we will have to stare at it for a very long time, unfortunately. But then again, what will be the repercussions if these people don't get these devices? What does this mean for the families and even for the whole country?
One, we begin from the families. The reason as to why many people would really even wish bad luck to happen to their kin born with disability or having disability is because of the burden, the financial burden. It drains the family because, you know, having, let's say, a child who cannot walk because of cerebral palsy, for example. Maybe this is a fourth born in a family of maybe 6. The parents will no longer go outside, especially the mother, to fend and look for food for the others. They will always be there. So it is affecting, it is really straining the financial capabilities of families. And by extension, the whole community. And with that, again, you see the country is affected because we need everyone to participate in building the nation. These people who are held in this compound, taking care of this child, and not being able to go outside and build the nation, financially, it is actually killing the economy. Yes.
Do we have, you know, strategies that are currently being employed to ensure that these devices are affordable and accessible, even at the lower level? Maybe it could be in the villages. You need to go to the villages. I think you have in your line of work and see the number of even young children who need wheelchairs and they're just crawling on the ground, the rough terrain as is, because they cannot be able to afford. Do we have programs? Do we have strategies that are ensuring that the cost is brought down and also access is made possible for these communities?
Yes, we have strategies, and this one I really also appreciate my professional colleagues, including myself. I've been the president for this profession now, this is my 8th year, and even individually, let me give an example of my own, is that I'm already trying to woo partners from across. As I told you, there are partners with very good technologies that are low and basic. So, and already most of them are in the country. We already have, I told you about SACLEG, who are moving, but theirs is also a very good technology. And these are technologies that can also be fabricated within a very short time. Most of our officers are trained. We have now monolimb, the one that I told you is costing around 15,000 to 35,000 for below knee and 55,000 above knee, and upper limb that doesn't go beyond 120,000. Not very affordable, yes.
It is not.
But again...
But do you need just one for your entire lifetime? Let me also get that clarification.
No.
You will still have to buy another one.
This is a mechanical gadget that actually would need repairs, it would need maintenance, and it will need at least a replacement after some time. Like for the below knee prosthesis, you'll need it like, it can serve you very well for up to 2 years. A very good quality prosthesis, up to 2 to 3 years. After there, you'll need replacement of the foot. You'll need replacement of the knee joint, if it is an above knee. You'll need the replacement of maybe the wrist joint or the elbow joint. Those are basically things you'll need to do after 2, 3, up to 5 years, for those who really take care of it. The wheelchair is the same.
You can't have one for your lifetime.
In fact,
you still have to replace it.
One sad thing is that sometimes our leadership also fails us, because you know, we get a huge chunk of wheelchairs being given to us as donation. We distribute them in a field. Have we ever taken a single minute to think of, do these wheelchairs really serve these people? Do these wheelchairs really get the spares? Because they are brought from other countries when they get worn out. And most of them even break, even at the ground where they are being issued. Others even break before they are issued. But somebody just takes home, hangs it on top of the store, and it lives there. If today we call all the people who are using mobility assistive devices and tell them, yes, now bring them to one of the biggest, which is the biggest stadia here.
Is one coming up?
One coming up. Let me tell you.
That's the biggest so far.
That stadia will be small.
Yeah.
We will have a whole
so
tank,
many, yeah?
Yes, of unused mobility assistive devices. And that one is something we need to get worried about. Yes. So
we are not even just looking at the cost of purchasing. We are looking at even the maintenance cost.
Maintenance cost.
Yeah, to make the impacts sustainable for these people who need them. But then let's talk about insurance. I think the elephant in the room has been the conversation around why are these things not insured? Why are they not provided for people who need them? Can you talk to us about maybe what are the complexities of why it can't be provided by SHA, for example, because that's what we are looking at right now. Yeah. Okay.
If I take you a little bit back in 2 seconds, for the Disability Act of 2002 to be signed, it was signed by the president then, who was sitting on a wheelchair. Probably it would not have been signed up to today, because Kenya is among the few nations who really ratified that law according to the Geneva Conventions. Let me also tell you that the reason as to why some of these reforms, they are very good in paper, are not moving as fast as they should, is because probably many of us sitting in places of leadership still see disability from a distance until it strikes. That's when in our families, when now we will act to save our kids, by extension now the others will get saved.
And that's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate reality we are facing. Yeah. So is there hope? Why is it so hard for it to be insured?
The reason is, government must lead. When you talk of insurance, you're not talking of only SHA, talking of other private insurers. Government must lead. And when I talk of government, government is everyone. Leaders, of course, in front. Our leadership should be able to really look for... I'm not saying that nothing is happening. A lot is happening at the Ministry of Health. There is a lot of policies that we have done. Rehabilitative strategy, yes, something that has guided us and has actually given us this Assistive Technology Center of Excellence. There is a lot that's happening. As I said, I'm sitting at the TWG, Technical Working Group for Rehabilitative Services. They have a very wonderful team, being led, of course, by the DG. But now, the ministry must be working in harmony with all other line ministries that also drive the same agenda. To make even things worse, or to make it a little bit difficult, is that the personnel and the doctors and the people who are working in medical rehabilitation are domiciled at the Ministry of Health, while the services just the other day in the pecking order were put under social protection, social welfare. So they are now apart, meaning resources must come from a different place, of course, with people who are not fully qualified on disability matters. And now there are people who are professionals who have gone to school and they have qualified and they can do everything possible to make this happen, are domiciled in a different ministry. So they are only invited to give technical advice, while their services are implemented together with others. When you put disability together with orphans and vulnerable children, you put it with the aged or the people who are old. Yes, of course, disability also, there's disability as a result of age. There is a lot of keen interest. If there is a lot of keen interest, then resources must also be channeled through the Ministry of Health to ensure that the section of rehabilitative services have their own directorate and their own vote, so that they can really implement what is in those policies, what is in what has been developed as a guiding policy and principles. Yeah.
You sit in the technical working group. Do you raise these concerns about cost, about the need for insurance, about the disorganized way of how the roles have been scattered all over across the departments? Do you raise these concerns? Are they listening?
Yes, of course. We raise them, and I started by saying we have a very wonderful team at the Ministry of Health, very listening. They've given enough support that we need to make sure that we have this. Probably the small things like actually putting it in the organogram and having it feature, the section having it feature as a directorate is what they need to do. But now after doing these very nice policies, and then when it comes to implementation is when all the other line ministries, including Treasury, Social Protection and the others, Labor, when all of them are supposed now to come in and play this role, again, they have their own priority areas. This one, again, goes down to the list. I mean, at the bottom of the list.
It's not a priority anymore.
It doesn't become a priority. You even go to somewhere and you cannot even find it. You look at the whole organogram of the Ministry of Health. Up to below there, you cannot see anything rehabilitative. It's very rare to see it. You'll see it as under some subtopic down there, which is not a very good show. Yeah. At
this space, how practical is it for us to get to the dream where you had talked about us looking at robotics, the world of AI, tapping into opportunities that are there for us to be able to come up with very innovative and relevant assistive devices? How practical is it, considering the way you have described how things are done currently?
It's very practical. Let me give you a good example, like when we today talk about, even let's talk about prosthetics, because that's my keen area of interest. We have around 30,000 people who require prosthesis from below knee to above knee. If you do a rough figure of how much do we need to provide the basic, for all of them in the country today, it's like almost 1 billion shillings. 1 billion shillings. That's a drop.
That's everyone will have.
In the Republic, a new one. And then basic, that is basic. And then we can now be talking of maintenance. When you go to wheelchairs, 100,000. Talk of how much you can spend in that, it might still be 1 billion shillings, or maybe 2 or 3 billion shillings. That's a drop. So meaning, if today this section is created and it is given like, let's say, 20 billion, I'm telling you it will take another very long time before the government thinks, because it will only be doing what is called sustainability of the same project. The only thing comes in when prioritizing is there. And this is given no space in the top priority. Yeah.
All right. I'll just talk about a few questions I've received. There was one specific concern about a condition that is quite common among even children and adults. I like calling it flat foot, but you have a better way of describing it. That's PES planners. There was a viewer who was interested to just learn about it, and there's been efforts to go the rehabilitative direction, which also has come with cost implications, and the families had to stop what they were advised to do. So are there repercussions, for not using any assistive devices to probably as a rehabilitation mechanism?
Yes.
First of all, explain to us what the condition is all about.
PES planners, as you've said, that's flat foot.
Yeah.
In a layman's language,
yes,
that can be understood by everyone. Is when you step, there is always that space in between the toes and the heel. That one is a very important space that is supposed to be a curvature that's always supposed to be there, because even when you run, it helps you to spring. So, but when you don't have it, you are termed or you are diagnosed with a condition called PES planners or flat foot. Basically, it is good to always identify it at very young age, so that when the child begins to walk, you can start managing it. You might easily rearrange those foot bones and retain that curvature as the child grows. But now, if not properly managed, leads to a condition that you might not be able to walk for very long distance. You might not be able to stand. And again, if you cannot, because the way the foot bones are arranged, there are a lot of biomechanical principles involved. Your weight line, there is somewhere it is falling. How many degrees in front of the ankle joint? How many degrees probably behind the knee joint? And like that up to the hip joint. So if you cannot manage that small foot problem, using, PES planners uses something called an arch support. And it is in the category of what we call insoles or inlays, which again falls in the category of footwear. Because there are people with a lot of conditions also that require very nice shoes.
So the device, the assistive device needed in this specific case is the inner sole.
Insole, which is an arch support.
Okay, so it's a special kind of...
It's a special, yes, which is good when it is measured and fabricated, so that depending on the severity of the flat foot, you can get an appropriate arch support. If you can't use it, you'll even have problems of the back. Even your spine will be deformed. As you age, you'll have many other problems, including the knee joint problems, knee pain, and probably the damage to your knee joints, major joints of the body. So as you age, you will get other deformities and you'll get other conditions arising from non-use of an arch support because you had the problem.
So you say that it's best caught when the child is still young.
Yes.
That's when the management becomes more effective.
You can even identify it at that early age, and you can easily know. When the child starts walking, you'll always see, because there is also the opposite of it, where also the child has got some inversion. And you see that one is now again another condition. When you can see when the child begins to walk, holding the wall and all that, you can easily see either the knees are knocking each other or they are bowed outside. You can now know this child has a problem at the foot or at the knee joints. Yeah.
All right. I want us to move a little bit faster. Let's look at the lack of information and the lack of awareness. And I believe even part of what we were doing today is all about creating awareness. But as a leader in that particular space, what do you think is the role of, awareness and the access to information when it comes to these assistive devices? How will it change the game, and how are you going about it already to ensure that even the parents and the caregivers are aware of these things?
Thank you, and I think this is now where the media will really play a very critical role, because we might have the information, we have the people who are really educated and well-versed with these issues, but now reaching to the public requires a medium. Yeah? How can you reach the public? Other than using the media like this, like today, I know many people will really not get to know exactly what problems you are facing. And again, they will also know that not using them is also it's also a problem, because it will lead to another condition. There is nothing much we can do without having stakeholders on board. Stakeholders in the sense that we need the church, we need the media, we need the leadership, we need everybody to participate in this. And again, we also need the same stakeholders to take the lead and advocate for the rights for people who have these conditions. We also need the people who can really speak on behalf of those who cannot speak, because there are those who cannot even know, leave alone where to get the service. They do not even know who to ask. You get somebody, got an amputation like 10 years ago, and when you ask him about why, have you ever used no? If they say, no, I've never used it. Why? He says, do you mean these things are available in this country? Yes?
They don't know.
They don't know. So we really need a lot of concerted effort. This is not a one-man's thing. It is for everybody to really step in. Yeah.
But just out of curiosity, what principles do you follow before you get to the point where maybe a hand has to be amputated or a foot? Because there's been concern from people that maybe it was wrongly done, maybe it was a rushed process, and they ended up losing a very critical part of their body. Usually, as professionals, what do you do to decide between whether this person needs just something to support them temporarily, or they will have to have a device that will support the functioning of that body part, or that body part has to be removed completely and they will have to be replaced by something else? How do you make that decision?
As I started, I said there is clinical, there is surgical, there is rehabilitative and technical part of it. So most, especially when you talk about amputations, the leading cause of amputations currently in the Republic is road traffic accidents.
Road traffic accidents?
Yes, motorbikes and all that. And when sometimes this happen and somebody goes to the hospital, for just a layman, they might see the leg just has some bruises and nothing more than that. But when they go to the clinical part and diagnosis is done, probably a major blood vessel or something like a nerve has been cut off. Meaning even if you live with this leg, it will just continue to get wasted and it will not help you anything. Or it will even continue to rot and give you, you become septic, and probably the sepsis now can kill you. So some of these, I can say, probably again in the rehabilitation sector, we have social workers and guidance and counseling people who are again not very much employed. These are the people who should carry the family through family conferences. Yes? Before the amputation is done, even within a very short time, they need to be taken to a room, talked to, told this is what has happened, and this is the ultimate thing that needs to be done. If they have questions, they can ask, and they'll be given reasons as to why this is being done. The reason as to why many cases come up that this one was done in a rush, it should not have been this way and that way, is because the family conferences are missing, where the family people, including the sick person himself or the person who has gotten the injury, should actually be explained to, so that he can be knowing that even if this is left, it can give me more problems.
All right, as we wind up, maybe what emerging trends in orthopedic devices inspire you currently in terms of where we are going, to just see what options are there, probably what we could be having in the market in the coming days?
I know we've moved the speed, and when I started, I went to even high-tech. But now, what excites me are emerging trends in low and basic and easy to do. Because I'm not only looking at what is this that we can do to have AI prosthetic components or orthotic components, but to me, what is this that we can do to bridge the 95% gap
that is there?
How do we make these people work? Because, you know, for somebody, there's someone who just wants to walk to the garden, work to do a business. How can we make these people work with a very low cost? Those emerging trends are what really interests me. I've participated in a technology called Alivio, yes, where the socket, we are really working out to see, instead of, you know, our processes usually takes up to two weeks to 1 month to make. But this one is just a socket which is prefabricated, and somebody comes in the facility now, and you just do a lot of procedures, and you just fix the socket directly on the stump, and then you just do alignment and somebody goes home. I'm excited with technologies, yes, like Swissability, for example. Swissability is cheap, easy to do. It can be done even with very little resources. A workshop built for that can be very, it doesn't have to be very expensive. It is something that a patient comes to the hospital at 8, and by 10, the patient goes home with a leg. Yeah?
All right.
Emerging trends like immediate postoperative prosthesis, whereby the patient is amputated today, and so that that patient does not lose the balance. Between 7 days to 1 month, the patient already has an artificial leg. He can stand without losing balance. He doesn't need to be retrained. Immediate postoperative prosthetic fitting. Those are emerging trends that we are looking at. We have sack leg, the same, something taking between 3 to 5 hours, and the patient goes home. There is enough technology now in the country. We are moving on with the organizations that I've just mentioned, like Swissability from Switzerland, to train our officers to know these basic and low technologies. Basic, easy to do, and low cost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for creating time. We talked about the gap in terms of how the cost implication is affecting accessibility to some of these devices. But then again, a lot needs to be done in that ground as well. That's a challenge I'm throwing to you, being that you sit at the technical working group at the Ministry of Health. And I want us to end this conversation here. Thank you so much for watching the show today. I've been engaging Kenneth Kipiego-Meli, an orthopedic technologist. We're talking about mobility assistive technology. Asante sana. We hope you've learned something. But for now, it's a wrap. Have a lovely day ahead and keep watching Citizen TV.